Let's be honest about why you are here right now. You probably have a project you know you should be working on. It's sitting there, waiting for you. But instead of facing the discomfort of that task, you clicked on this video. You tell yourself you are learning or researching, but deep down, you know the truth. This is productive procrastination. It is the most dangerous form of avoidance because it feels like work. You get the satisfaction of being busy without the risk of actual progress. The problem isn't that you lack information. In fact, you likely already know enough to get started. The problem is your ratio. You are currently operating on a default setting where you consume 90% of the time and execute 10% of the time. You are drowning in theory while starving for experience. To fix this, we need to invert the math. We need to stop prioritizing preparation and start prioritizing the 90-10 rule of execution. The biology of fake growth. Why we hoard information. To understand why this trap is so difficult to escape, we have to look at the biology of your brain's reward system. We live in the era of just-in-case learning. You buy the business book, bookmark the design tutorial, or save the podcast episode because you think you might need it someday. When you do this, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. It rewards you for the intention of doing the work, rather than the work itself. This creates a chemical feedback loop where the act of collecting information feels just as satisfying as achieving the goal. This phenomenon creates the illusion of competence. Think about watching a master chef cook a steak on YouTube. You watch the steps, you understand the logic, and you nod along. By the end of the video, your brain tricks you into thinking you possess the skill. But you don't. You only possess the data. You have confused recognizing the concept with mastering the execution. We rely on this illusion because of fear. The amygdala, the ancient part of your brain responsible for survival, loves tutorials. As long as you are in learning mode, you are safe. You cannot fail while you are reading a book. You cannot be rejected while you are watching a video. You use information as a safety blanket to insulate yourself from the risk of the real world. But this safety comes at a massive cost. Information obesity. Just as your body stores excess calories as fat, your brain stores excess information as mental clutter. You are consuming far more data than you can metabolize into action. This leads to analysis paralysis. When you have read 5 different books on the perfect morning routine, you don't wake up earlier. You just freeze because you are trying to optimize a habit you haven't even started. You become heavy with theory and light on experience. This paralysis is reinforced by the student mindset. From a young age, we are trained to wait for permission. We are taught to study the textbook before we take the test. We believe we need to be fully authorized and educated before we attempt the task. But the master mindset operates in reverse. Masters understand that the map is not the territory. They know that clarity is a result of action, not a prerequisite for it. Every hour you spend preparing to start is an opportunity cost. It is an hour stolen from the messy, difficult practice that actually builds skill. You are trading the discomfort of growth for the comfort of consumption. The 90-10 protocol, just-in-time execution. The solution isn't to stop learning entirely. That leads to stagnation. The solution is to invert the timeline of when that learning happens. This brings us to the 90-10 rule. The protocol is strict. You must spend 90% of your time in high-friction execution, doing the work, making the sales calls, writing the code, and only 10% of your time in directed learning. To implement this, you need to borrow a concept from manufacturing. In the mid-20th century, Toyota revolutionized the automotive industry with just-in-time, JIT production. Before this, companies used just-in-case manufacturing, stockpiling massive inventories of car doors and engines just in case they needed them. This was expensive and inefficient. Toyota decided to only order parts exactly when they were needed on the assembly line. They removed the safety net of inventory and maximized efficiency. Your brain works the same way. Currently, you are operating on just-in-case learning. You are stockpiling facts about marketing, design, and finance just in case you ever start that business. You need to switch to just-in-time learning. You should only learn a piece of information the moment you need it to solve a specific, immediate blockage in your work. This requires you to adopt the output-first workflow. Most people operate on an input-first basis. They study the theory, then they attempt the practice. The 90-10 rule flips this. You start the project before you know how to finish it. You force yourself into the deep end immediately. There is a specific mechanism for this called the need-to-know filter. When you encounter a piece of content, a video, an article, a podcast, ask yourself one question. Does this information solve a specific problem I am facing right this second? If the answer is no, you are not learning. You are entertaining yourself. If you aren't currently stuck on a problem that this content solves, you ignore it. Let's look at a practical example to see the difference. Imagine you want to learn how to code an app. The just-in-case approach is to buy a 20-hour tailored course on Python. You watch the videos. You feel smart. You copy the instructor's code. But when you open a blank file to build your own idea, you freeze. You don't know how to structure the logic because you never actually struggled with it. You just followed a recipe. The 90-10 approach is radically different. You decide to build a simple calculator. You open the code editor immediately. You have no idea what to type. You feel stupid. That feeling is good. That is the friction of real growth. You then go to Google and type, how to create a window in Python. You find a snippet of code, paste it in, and run it. It breaks. Now you have a specific error message. You search for that error. You fix it. You move to the next step. This highlights the critical difference between search and stream. When you stream a tutorial, you are passive. You are leaning back, letting information wash over you. When you search for an answer to a specific error, you are active. You are hunting. The stream method feels comfortable, but the retention is near zero. The search method feels frustrating, but the retention is near 100%, because the information is immediately applied to a relevant context. This process relies on the failure-based learning loop. Neurobiology shows that we learn best when we make a prediction, fail, and then correct it. That moment of error releases neurochemicals that prime the brain for plasticity. By using the 90-10 rule, you maximize these failure points. You aren't avoiding the struggle. You are optimizing for it. You only learn the lesson after you have attempted the action, ensuring that every piece of knowledge you consume is instantly cemented by experience. The shift is simple but uncomfortable. Stop preparing to be ready and start breaking things. You do not need more information to start. You need to start to find out what information you actually lack. Commit to the 90-10 balance today. Spend your next hour doing the work, and only open a new tab when you hit a wall you cannot climb. Close this browser, pick one task, and execute on it immediately.